Hello everyone, my name is Stefano Bernardo, and today we are going to be ranking celebrity musician-owned wines. So today we have a couple of different things. We have a Chianti, we have a Pinot Noir, etc., etc. Because of that, we're going to keep the price in mind in these. I'm not going to really rate them against each other. It's more so relative to the value for money. Since we have so many different styles, it's not really fair to count them relative to each other. So first of all, we have Sting's When We Dance Chianti. Apparently he's a boomer singer, and this is named after one of his songs. Cool. This is Zac Brown's Pinot Noir from the Zac Brown band. You should have probably figured that out already. This is Sun Goddess Pinot Grigio. This is by J Blige. This dorky little bottle here is Nicki Minaj's mix. This is a Moscato, or basically alcoholic Sprite, if you will. This is Dreaming Tree by Dave Matthews of the Dave Matthews Band. Again, pretty obvious. This is a Cabernet. And then we have 19 Crimes' Red Blend with a collaboration with Snoop Dogg. So our first bottle today is Sting's When We Dance Chianti. This is a 2017. It's around $20 a bottle, which is higher than the average Chianti, I would say, but still kind of right in the ballpark. I think this is a passion project. I believe he owns an estate in Tuscany that he spends part of his time there. It's not just a holding that, he's vaguely aware of. I'm hoping it's pretty decent. I've heard decent things about it. We're gonna see if it lives up to it, but at the end of the day, it is Chianti. As with any Sangiovese, you kind of get hit with that immediate fruit forwardness, bright cherry, not really too much earthy tone, really just kind of that red fruit, a little bit of that bite of the alcohol from a cheaper Chianti that's typical. Now for a $20 wine, you can do a lot better. If you're trying to pair it with red meat or something where you really want a fruit bomb, you can do that, but in the grand scheme of things, not really worth $20. I don't see a reason to get this. Not a terrible Chianti, but at the end of the day, Chianti's Chianti. We're gonna put this in C tier. So the second one we're doing today is a Pinot Noir from Zac Brown. His label is Z Alexander Brown, and this is their Uncaged line. They do a couple other wines. They do a Cab and Red Blend and et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to do something that was different from all the other ones in the lineup, so we're doing their Pinot Noir today. I think Pinot Noir is a very approachable wine. Even terrible Pinot Noir can still have some benefits to the casual drinker. If I was a celebrity, like and subscribe, this is probably the wine I would want to associate my name with. I feel like it's the easiest to kind of pass off to drinkers of every single level. We'll see how this one does. As soon as I say that, this is a bit like cough syrup, unfortunately. This is around $14, $15 a bottle. It has the fruit from a Pinot Noir, but it has this burning aftertaste sensation that reminds you of taking that little tablespoon of medicine when you were a kid, and it's really not the most pleasant wine, but for $14, $15, you can take what you can get, and I wouldn't take it. We're gonna put that in D tier. All right, our next bottle is a Pinot Grigio from J Blige from her Sun Goddess line. You might know her from the Super Bowl halftime show, and I'm sure she's done other things. I actually was more familiar with this line of wines than who she was. I've seen these before. They're supposed to be pretty decent. They're about $20 a bottle, decent value for money. Pinot Grigio at the end of the day is Pinot Grigio, but we'll see how this stacks up relative to others I've had. As Pinot Grigios go, flavor is not really their strong suit. It's more about what, the housewife drinks when she's home and doesn't want to beat and strangle her own children. It kind of, fits the bill for that. It's a little bit easy drinking, a little minerality, a little bit of crisp citrus on the nose, on the initial palate. Finish is clean. At the end of the day, this is a fine wine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's also not a whole lot, outstanding about it. Pretty much a run-of-the-mill, decent Pinot Grigio. We're gonna put this in B tier, actually. I don't think it's bad enough to justify putting it any lower than that. I think it's a nice, comfortable, everyday drinking wine for $20 and nothing to be ashamed of. The next offering is this adorable little bottle called Mix from Nicki Minaj. It comes in a 4-pack and is, I think, $10, $12, somewhere around there. It's a Moscato, which if you're not familiar is basically alcoholic Sprite. It's the, oh crap, we messed up the wine, add a bunch of sugar to it and make it sparkling wine, as I like to unaffectionately refer to it as. This is a great wine for people that aren't wine drinkers to kind of edge their way in if they're more familiar with soda, cocktails. I kind of like using this as a gateway wine to get them drinking wine before introducing them to something a little bit more substantial. So we'll see how this does. With a lot of Moscatos, you get a little bit of a inauthentic, almost foreign tasting sugar quality to it. It tastes a little bit synthetic. You get that. You don't really taste the alcohol. Of course, Moscato doesn't have high alcohol content. This is something that, you know, if you're in high school, easy to drink. If you're, like I said, just getting into wine, it's a gateway, but it's basically alcoholic Sprite. In the grand scheme of Moscato, I would say this is maybe C tier. I've had a lot worse. For a 4-pack for $10, you can do a lot worse than this, surprisingly. Nicki Minaj didn't do a terrible job with this. Up next is one of my favorite wine types and regions from anywhere in the world, a California Cab. This is by Dave Matthews of the Dave Matthews Band. I hope you figured that out already. This is a Cabernet. It's, from what I've heard, not the best Cabernet out there, but I guess when you have a name like that, you can sell anything to people for $15 a bottle. So we'll see how it does. It's actually not as bad as I expected. It has a lot of the dark fruit and kind of that explosive flavor right at the beginning that you expect from cabs. The finish has a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of oak. It's not particularly long, not particularly profound, but for a $15 cab, I've had much, much worse. It's not nearly as bad as I expected it to be. I'm actually pretty pleased with it. Is it gonna knock your socks off? No, but I think a B tier Cabernet for $15 is not the worst thing you'll ever find yourself buying. Our final wine today is a red blend from Snoop Dogg and 19 Crimes. Most of their wine is famous for being Australian and, you know, taking their name off of the crimes that got you sent there back in the first place a couple hundred years ago or whenever the hell that happened. This is actually a California red blend. It's not from Australia, which is a little bit different for them. It's about $12, $13 a bottle, give or take. I think you could usually pick it up just under 10, sometimes on sale. From what I've heard is it tastes like a red blend that's under $10. So we're gonna see how it is. Usually red blends can be approachable though, which is a nice aspect. So this tastes a little bit like a wine I like to pick on a bit called Apothic Red Blend. It has a similar synthetic, jammy tasting quality to it. If you're not really a big wine drinker, you're just getting into it, this is gonna be a crowd pleaser for people. It's got some fruit, the alcohol burn is not much, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really have the wine taste that someone who appreciates wine a bit more is looking for. If you're, you know, trying to spend 10 bucks on a bottle of something that's just drinkable to put on the table, it's not gonna be bad, and you get to talk about Snoop Dogg at the same time. You know, decent buy for $12. You know, it's not a B tier wine, but for value for money, you kind of have to put it there. For a lot of people, this is going to be perfectly fine, and for $10, perfectly fine is all you can ask for. So we tasted 6 wines from celebrity musicians. Musicians usually like to take the limelight, kind of be the star of the show. None of these wines are going to do that for your dinner table unless you're just looking at Snoop Dogg on the cool label. You know, there is some decent value for money here. The 19 Crimes, the Dreaming Tree, the Sun Goddess are all, you know, $10 to $20, and they're okay representations of what those wines are. None of them are fantastic, but you know, if you're on a budget, you want a fun story and the celebrity connection, they're gonna cut it for you. I don't see any reason really to buy the Mix or the Zac Brown or the Sting wines unless if you really cared about the artist or you're just looking for a mediocre wine that has some sort of conversation behind it. All in all, it's kind of what I expected. It is what it is when you're dealing with celebrity wines on a budget. Maybe look for something that has a little bit more substance to it rather than just pomp and circumstance when you're looking for your next wine. As always, everybody, like and subscribe. If you're in the DC area, come check out the wine dinners I host. Link is in the description for that. Thank you, guys.